Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest edition of the World Report. I'm Scott Crowfoot. We'd like to welcome the Czech Republic to our growing family on the World Report. On today's show, Romney's out for 2016. Cheaper fuel is spurring U.S. car sales. OPEC's Secretary General says oil will rise to over $200 per barrel, and ISIS continues beheading, throwing people from rooftops, and now burning coalition pilots alive in cages. Our moment in history will examine the truth regarding the passage of civil rights legislation. And now to our top stories. New budget, same results. More taxes, $1.5 trillion in new taxes, again to fix the roads and bridges. The CBO predicts by 2021, interest payments alone on our debt will surpass defense and discretionary spending. Also, the Democrats' open-door amnesty is seeing a resurgence of diseases like measles, mumps, and TB. The media will surely focus on Vaccinagate, but won't go near the reason for the surge. With me, as always, World Report Senior Advisor, economics blogger for USA Today Online, who can also be followed on Twitter at mbeshlos, Maury Beschloss. Maury, what do you make of the president's new budget? You study economics daily, and no more spending, more taxes.
Well, the point is, you don't have to study economics to have somebody go out and say, I'm going to spend more money than I've already spent. I saw the outlines of the budget. It's ridiculous. First of all, the money that's spent on infrastructure should have been spent right at the beginning of his first term.
Isn't that what the economic stimulus was all about?
Of course. I have mixed feelings about Franklin Delano Roosevelt, but when it came to putting the money where his mouth is and to give people a reason to keep going at the time, he put it on infrastructure, and he was absolutely right. And I was sure that Obama was going to do the same thing because, first of all, we need it. Do you know the last time this country actually did anything serious about infrastructure? 50, 60 years ago. Dams are going to pot, roads are going to pot, pipelines in the energy development industry are in real bad shape. Plus, they are out of sync because most of the production of oil in this country today is from shale, which didn't exist 50 years ago. Plus, you got material today that is far better for the use of pipe in the pipelines. So all these things together would have been a natural for any president who was logical to say, okay, let's really get this administration off on the right track. Let us start with infrastructure.
But you're going back to 2009 now.
I am going back to 2009, but I'm saying it's the same kind of mentality today that existed then. You asked me, is this a logical budget? Of course it's not. First of all, I think he realizes everything he throws on the table is not going to be passed in the Congress.
So why not go big?
That's what he's doing. I mean, he's throwing big numbers out there, trillions of dollars, $4 trillion here, $8 trillion there, and take it from the rich and give it to the poor. You know, he's using all those old accolades that used to make
Robin Hood and Santa Claus.
Absolutely, it's absolutely right.
And meanwhile, we have record Treasury receipts on taxes. Every year, we're bringing in more and more and more. So it's not like we have a deficit of tax receipts.
When we say we have an $18 trillion or 18.1 or $18.2 trillion deficit, it's probably more like a $25 trillion deficit. Because the things that went bankrupt, like the solar panels that people forget about, the money that he poured into General Motors, all these things they forget about. They don't run it like a business. They, this cartoon in the Desert Sun today said there are three branches of government. It shows Obama standing there saying, me, myself, and I. I mean, and basically that's what it's all about today. He's running it because he doesn't care.
Well, when you don't have to make a profit, it's easy to spend money, especially when you can just print
Absolutely.
more. And that's what they've been doing for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, but it's worse than not making a profit. It's the fact, two things, incompetence, a man that doesn't understand the first degree of business, and secondly, a man who hates his own country. When you put that together, you're not going to get something very positive.
Well, we've talked about this before, that less than 6% of his cabinet has any private sector experience, meaning had a real job in the real world. They've all been academics paid off by the taxpayers, or they've been lobbyists, or they've been teachers, or they've been...
Did you say 6%? I didn't know it was that high.
Yeah, it's less than 6%.
Valerie Jarrett, I mean, she's really his number one advisor. I happen to have met her. She was in charge of real estate in Chicago with a very good friend of mine. She's a bright woman. Actually, she's from Iran, which I'm just saying as background. But she had no understanding of business. She knew how to collect from people who owned houses on the south side of Chicago, but that's about as far as it went.
They despise business. I mean, when the president came out a couple years ago and said, you didn't build that, that was obvious because he'd said it off the cuff. One of the few times you really got to hear what he really thought without the teleprompter. They despise businesses. Well, they think we rob people. They think that we take from people.
Well, when you say they, what the worst part of it, do you know that the United States of America is the only country in the whole world that has millions of individual businesses? In almost every other country, whether it's a European country, Asian country, African, wherever, you don't have individual entrepreneurial businesses. In this country, whether it's manufacturing, distribution, specification, export, import, sure, you got the GE and you got Caterpillar and you got the big aircraft companies, but those are really a minority of the business world as far as this country. The real dynamics of this country are still in the hands of the entrepreneurial geniuses who have created the technology that has gotten us there, whether you're talking about hydraulic fracturing in oil, or you're talking about communication, guys like Zuckerberg or Tim Cook at Apple. I mean, these are all individuals who made this happen, not the government. No, government has never made anything happen as far as adding profit to the future of the country.
Getting back to the budget and future outlays, the Congressional Budget Office, which is supposedly bipartisan, I don't think anything is bipartisan. I just don't believe that.
Of course not.
But they're even predicting that by 2021, which is not that far off in the distant future, we're going to see that the interest on the debt is going to be larger than defense spending or discretionary spending. At some point, you run out of money, don't you?
Well, first of all, I think that, that's just guesswork.
Then it's probably worse than that.
Well, no, let me put it in the perspective of the way I see it. I think the thing that is saving us today is the fact that interest rates are so low. And most of the auctions that we have that people, investors from all over the world are buying into the United States debt. It's amazing. We have this $18 trillion debt, but the 10-year note, which is the most important part of the yield curve, is only generating about 1.7%, which is the lowest of any country in the world today, because they still feel secure in the United States, both in principal and pay back in interest.
Now, we only have a minute left here, but the big thing right now is vaccine gate. There's always something, the crisis that the media creates.
All the time.
But no one will talk about the reason for this. The surge of people coming into this country illegally over the past couple of years has made the surge of mumps, measles, tuberculosis, a range of diseases more prevalent, and none of these people have been screened. What do you make of what's going on?
It follows when you come from any place else but the United States, you're not going to get the same standards of health that we have here in the United States. We can criticize ourselves till the cows come home. No country in the world has any standards like the United States, and you're absolutely right. And if they're coming from really backward countries like
Honduras,
South America,
Guatemala,
Africa, Asia, you're just bringing the diseases with you.
And then spread throughout the country and going to school with our children.
Yeah, I thought, tuberculosis was gone. Now it's back. Measles is back. God forbid infantile paralysis will come back.
Polio.
Well, that's what I'm talking
We've
about.
had all these diseases eradicated at one point in our history. So it's a little discouraging
Well,
to
that's
see
one-
this come back
that's-
and the media not report on the reason
The
why.
one thing that is amazing to me is that we have doubled our population since 1950. That's amazing. We've got 320 million people. You wouldn't have that unless you had them coming from the outside. European countries are reducing. We are still growing like a South American country.
Yeah, you hear everyone, putting this country down, but I don't see people rushing to get out as much as they're rushing to get in.
I don't think so.
We need to step aside for a brief moment. We will return with our economic energy update, the global outlook, political insider, and the moment in history. We get lots of questions from viewers from all ends of the globe. If you'd like to ask Maury a question, it's simple and free. Just email your question or video to Maury@theworldreport.org. And remember to like us, recommend us, and leave comments.